Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yona Cruz. So today's guest is a repeat guest. He is back for part 2, Ray Lee. So Ray is a concept artist, environment concept artist, and digital art teacher in Los Angeles, California, but he will be moving back to his home country of South Korea. He creates 2D concept art, including environment, props, illustration, logo, and character design to professional standards, showing his design's problem-solving quality in the game and entertainment industry. He has a passion for creating gaming universes that captivate players' imagination. So as I mentioned in the episode, Ray is my very first repeat guest. We've had to schedule it in sooner than expected since he's moving back to his home country, but it was nice to follow up on some of the topics we didn't get to in part 1, notably working as an international concept artist in the gaming industry, AI and the ethical challenges in art, as well as the mindset to be successful in this profession. It was a shorter than normal episode, but it was such a perfect follow-up to the first one, so hopefully you guys will get a lot out of this, especially if you really enjoyed the first one. So without further ado, hope you enjoyed this episode with Ray Lee. Ray, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us again. You are my first repeat guest, so it is a pleasure to have you to kind of break the ice on that. And it's also kind of special because the reason why we had you on so soon is because you're moving back to Korea, right?
Yeah.
To pursue more of like your career, concept art, design, that stuff in Korea. Also, you'll be back to like see your family and all that stuff. So I'm excited for you and your new endeavor and adventure going back to Korea. You will be missed, of course, and I'm sure you'll miss, hanging out in LA and all that stuff. But yeah, happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
I know.
for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we had a lot of stuff that we didn't get to in the first episode, so I think we wanted to have a part 2, obviously, anyways. So we're just doing it sooner than later. So yeah, any clarifications on what you're up to or what's going on in your immediate future before we jump into topics?
Well, as you just explained, I'm like in a process of going back to my home country, which is South Korea. But I haven't been there more than 5 years. So it's kind of feels like a new place for me, to be honest. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, it is my home country, but it's really hard to say it's actually home country for me because I didn't live there entire my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you've been jumping around since you were younger to different places and stuff like that. And your parents lived there, right?
Yes.
Right. And so I was going to say, so 5 years, I mean, I think I know, but so you haven't been back to South Korea in 5 years, but your parents or your mom visited recently or something like that?
Yeah, she did it. I mean, it's like last year when I was like graduating it. That was the first time I was like seeing her after I got back to the States.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about moving back? I guess just to recap.
Just very like nervous and kind of exciting. And it's more like I'm like kind of prepared for what's going to be happen. Because as most of people know about South Korea's like society's like impression, it's pretty highly competitive. I mean, everywhere are highly competitive, but more like cultural wise and everything, it's kind of also impacting the society. So I think that's why I'm like, all right, let's change my mindset, which is not going to be same as here. So that's like how I'm like trying to transfer myself.
I see.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you're going to have to, be prepared for anything, but you're going to be adaptable. And it kind of goes into our first topic, which is, and thank you for helping me brainstorm these questions as well. I think it was very thoughtful. So first topic is career growth as an international concept artist. And so you are an international concept artist.
Right.
And so the first question, which is, what are the pros and cons of starting with contract work or freelance work as an international concept artist?
I think as an international concept artist, we have the restriction because of our visa status, because we are under the international student like visa, which is called the F1 visa. Because of that, we can only work that it's really relate to our degree, like how we earn the degree. For example, like I earned a degree by doing a lot of digital painting, traditional drawing, traditional painting. So I can't go out of this like boundary. For example, I can't do the art manager in the game company because art manager are related to the art team, but they don't really do artwork like daily. They do the commenting and the managing it. So that's the different part. So when we go back to the contract and the freelancing, there's one more constraint that we have to meet the requirement of the minimum working hour per week which is 20 hour per week. So that's the two things that we have to be super careful when we actually register the freelancing or contract through the company.
Okay. And so you said there was pros and cons to that sort of thing. Well, like, what are those?
I'll say the pros will be same as just regular freelance or the contractor. We have our own schedule, so we can work on the project the company provides it, and at the same time we can do the different job to earn extra income. So that's the pros, and the cons will be you don't have a stable status, so you have to always be aware about am I not getting it like expire my status while I'm like working with some of the company as a contractor or freelancer.
Okay, so more flexibility, but basically less quote unquote stability in a sense.
Yes.
Right, that makes sense. So then, I guess from that perspective, how can international artists expand their job opportunities outside of the US? And are there better job markets in other countries?
Well, at this moment, just the game job in general, as the junior concept artist, it is really tough out there still. As I mentioned on the previous episode, I think it didn't really change that much because a lot of companies are more looking for hiring the experienced artists. So, but still, I guess European country and some of the Asian country are still providing the remote like work opportunity to the junior concept artists. I think that will be a good chance for the beginners to grab the ideas and also start their career outside of the States so they can actually build their
Get
resume.
experience,
Yes.
resume. Okay. So there are other markets out there besides the US that will lend opportunities to those more junior, less experienced concept artists.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Do you know of any right now from top of mind that you know? You mentioned Europe.
Yeah.
Are there any other markets that you think are more beginner accessible?
hmm Based on my experience, I think Ukraine has some of the opportunity for the junior concept artists, or Italy, and sometimes few game company from Switzerland, they kind of asking for the opportunity to the like junior concept artists in the States, which it's kind of they only provide the money through their currency, not the US dollar. So that's going to be a little bit a difference for the artist to like apply for the job and then figuring out how to receive the payment.
Okay, so the payment wise is a little bit more tricky.
Yes.
Gotcha. So I know you're moving back to South Korea, but would you consider any of those other markets? And if so, what would be your top, like, I don't know, top places that you would want to go into?
You mean more like a game studio wise?
Maybe game studios, but I'm thinking like on the topic of international and like countries or
Right.
stuff like that. Do you have any insights on what your top favorites might be?
I think I will just be more trying to like looking for the game industry in Korea. Thankfully, they have a lot of junior concept artist opportunity out there.
Okay.
So I could apply and trying to see what's their like trend is and how they really think about their pipeline. I think that's the challenging part for me to understand when I'm going back to Korea. Otherwise, I think I will be just more be flexible about where do I can use my like artist skill in a different field. For example, I can create the emoji on the like a platform there you can sell your art. So it's kind of becoming like a passive income-ish system.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So your top market would still be South Korea,
hmm
but you'd be open to applying your art to other industries
Yeah.
and other countries, I guess.
Right. So it's really hard to say which country it is
Mm,
because right now everything is very global.
gotcha.
So that's why I was like,
Doesn't
maybe
really matter too much about the country, but it's more
Right.
like the industry and or like the company.
exactly. That's why I was mentioning the platform that I can use it like globally. So I have a global like audience. So I can earn some of the income, which sometimes it's like US dollar. So which is really good opportunity for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess a little tangent off of that. If you could live in any other country besides US and South Korea to do work for, let's say, your ideal companies, do you have a top 3 countries you'd like to live? Countries or cities that you'd like to live in?
I'll say the Japan for sure. Tokyo will be a really great opportunity to live.
Mm.
And second place will be, I'll say, Finland.
Oh, Finland.
Yeah, because Finland is really like nature friendly place, and I've been there before through the travel. So it was nice experience to like getting a lot of inspiration from the actual like environment from the Finland.
Okay, so the environment,
Yeah,
but not Scandinavian
right.
to go walking.
And I think the last part will be, I'll say San Francisco. It's
Okay.
still a state.
Yeah.
But I just have some of the like feeling of what will be like feel different if I live in the San Francisco. I never had a chance. So
Yeah, definitely different vibe. I'm from the Bay Area, so I'm familiar with San Francisco. But yeah, I think you're right. It's one of those hubs of like startups, tech, and all that stuff
Right.
like that. So it would be interesting to work there.
Mm.
Cool. On that note, so just kind of backpedaling a little bit. So you went to Otis. Do you feel like an American education gives you an advantage in the international gaming industry market?
I'll say yes.
Mhm.
There's two reasons. One is they provide the insight about like how to become the concept artist in general.
More insight than like other schools.
Yes, because I think the Otis just gave me a lot of room for me to think about how to become an artist, like the mindset wise. So I can think about, I do have a possibility of being a character artist or the environment concept artist in the game industry in the future. Like other than me only thinking about, I can just become a concept artist. So they're giving a lot of tryout like system to understand what's going on in the industry, other than they just focus on only the techniques or only the information they known so far. So I think that's the freedom that I had. I think the second part will be the connection from people who already graduated, people who are already working in the industry. I think they provide a lot of feedback and also their know-hows if they are international student. So I think that helps me to grasp the idea about how to survive as the international concept artist in the States.
Okay. So I know so your experience at Otis was good because you learned a lot of functional knowledge, not only like of the art, but also how to be in the industry, but also the network was valuable. So now stepping back, do you think as someone who's applying for these jobs, do you think having an American school on your resume is probably more of an advantage than say going to a school in another country, international school? Do you think that gives you an advantage saying it's an American school?
I think I can explain in a two-way again. And first, I'll say yes, it will give some of the benefits because it's kind of verified that you went through the 4 years of college like education system. So people will have the kind of positive like stereotype that, oh, this person can at least execute an amount of the work and has amount of the dedication. So that kind of proves it on my diploma. But at the same time, I'll say no to that question because
It's not necessarily like where you graduate, but how good is your work, your portfolio, your experience, etc. So you're saying it could go either way.
yes.
Makes sense. So last thing on this topic is how should international artists prepare for industry instability from your insights and perspective, like layoffs or hiring slowdowns? I feel like that's a concern in a lot of people's industries, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think for that aspect, we need to build like at least A to C plan, which is 3 different
I
plans
see.
to be aware about the layoff and these days like the game industry's like situation as the international student. So for me, my first plan A is applying for the job as a game concept artist in the industry. And then plan B was trying to looking for some of the slightly different design field. For example, like for what I have known so far, concept artists can also have chance to apply for the toy industry because they sometimes looking for the illustrator
Oh, I see.
and actual like a concept artist position. So that kind of gives the room for the concept artist to apply for the different design field. And also rarely sometimes you can apply for the graphic designer like position, which you are handling like packaging illustration part. So that kind of helps. And then plan C, which is I'm currently using it, is working in the private like art education system, which I apply for the job to the like a private art institution out there in the States. And I work as the digital art like teacher slash like traditional art teacher. So I can teach the student from like different ages. That helps me to kind of stay on the track and then like visa status wise. And then I can still looking for the my priority like plans opportunity out there.
Okay, so just having multiple plans is
Mhm.
basically like the best way in any industry to prepare for like changes or instability and whatnot.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's very good advice. I think in general for whatever industry you come from. All right, so next topic is AI and ethical challenges in the game art industry. So, how are studios balancing AI tools with traditional concept art workflows? So, I know last episode you mentioned kind of like how AI is being combined or overlaid with the art process in your field. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Nowadays, some of the company are starting to using the AI like technique to apply on actual their current like game IP. I think one of the example will be Activision's Call of Duty.
Mm.
They start to apply the AI like tools on their game right now. So some of the users are experiencing kind of uncanny valley of feeling while they playing for the game. I think it was their like loading screen before they start the games. So I think that's the way the company is starting to adjust the new tool. Or some of the company are actually stating that we are not going to use the AI tools at all, and that we will fully respect the artists who are dedicated to make their own ideas,
Mm.
other than actually using AI tools to bring some of the conflict between the artist and the game company.
So it's a method. Well, you're saying that some studios have a disclaimer that okay, we're not going to leverage AI tools, and that's to appease the market or the client, the users
Yes.
of like their concerns with using AI.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that there's like pushback in that sense, and the company's like, okay, well, fine, we'll ease off on that, and let you guys know we respect the artists. So then, next question is, what can artists do to protect their work from AI scraping and unauthorized use? I think that's a big thing for AI since it's gone into art.
True. I think there's like a different way to prevent your work get consumed by the like open AI resources. I think the first one is you always check your social media platform where you upload your work, and there's always a privacy setting that you have to turn off to like your kind of consent to sending your like artwork or data to the company's like database to use it in a different way. They don't really mention they will use an AI tool. I think Meta, they mention on their like privacy setting tools to say this will be consumed to the AI and we have to turn it off. But what I know is so far, only the states are not like having any option for turn it off on the Meta, like which is like Instagram or their Facebook. So which that's kind of has the little bit gone to the vital like last year. So right now people are more settled. So some of people are actually not using the Instagram anymore to promote their art, or some people are still like just uploading it, even if they realize the AI will consume their artwork in the end. And then the last part, there's one university in the States, they developed one of the program only for the artists to prevent their work to get stolen by the AI tool, which is called the Glaze, like a glazed donut.
Yeah, Glaze.
Yeah. So actually they like digitally glaze on your artwork to prevent to AI tools to recognizing it, scraping it. But that is not on the top level yet. They're still developing it from university. So when you like kind of glaze your artwork, it becomes a little bit like less high resoluted like artwork.
I see. So there's like a drawback to that too. So then what are industry professionals' concerns about AI in concept art, and how is the industry responding? So I know you kind of just mentioned the pushback and the tools that could help prevent the use of that, and what you can do as an artist. Either you don't upload or you upload certain places. But yeah, what are the concerns and how is the industry responding?
I think right now it's kind of mixed response compared to the beginning. Beginning was more like people are feeling very like against about the AI tools. Right now, some of the major companies, like as I mentioned, like Activision, they're starting looking for people who are like have ability to handle the AI tools to make the work. So I think that people are just like, okay, I think we can just like move on to using the tools to develop our work more faster and in better quality. And there's other half of people who are saying that is still disrespectful about like how we form this community. And then if we wanted longevity of this community, then we should keep the artist the respectful aspect other than we just continue to receiving what's going on in the around the world about the new technology.
I see. It's almost like those sci-fi books or movies where it's like the purists versus the progressives.
Right.
Like, we should use technology and steampunk to go into the future. And some people are like, oh, but no, the past, and we need to preserve the integrity of that. It's very interesting. Okay, so last question on this topic is how should aspiring concept artists adapt to AI without losing their artistic integrity?
I think this is what I also heard it from my professional friends outside of the, it's not outside of it, it's actually like people who are currently working in the industry. They're saying that if you want to maintain your artist aspect, you have to gain your design knowledge and then design skill. So you can actually use the AI tool to let them paint your design work, which will be a sketch. Other than that, it's kind of becoming challenging for you to overcome having a better painting than the AI. Because once you're not enhancing your fundamental art skill that I mentioned on the previous like episode, you'll get lost by the AI or you'll be eaten by the AI. So you can make a better work than the AI. So I think that's the main aspect. We should keep it in mind. So stay strong and then keep practicing on your fundamental art and then enhance your design ability. So the company will notice your like the value in the future or even sooner. Yeah.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. It's still practice your fundamental art skill, but learn how to use the tools and leverage it just to, develop your skill sets and whatnot.
Right.
All right. So topic number 3, if we want to move forward, is the mental and professional mindset of success. So how can concept artists stay motivated when facing long job searches, especially in today's tough market? So again, we were talking about how the market is really tough, and that's across a lot of industries. And as someone who's familiar with the job search, being international, and then looking for work here, and now you're going to be going back to South Korea to look for work. What are some of your thoughts or insights on that?
I think so far, what I experienced, I'll say there's 2 main things that I should keep it in mind. First, just do it. Just like the quote that we know, everyone knows.
Yeah, Nike.
Yes, Nike. And then because, yes, we need a lot of like strategies or the plans to figure out how to survive as an international like artist in the States. But at the same time, if we are obsessed with the plan or the strategy that I built it up already, then if anything happened, out of control things are happen, then you will lose the motivation, which becomes very toxic part to the artist because art is like the language, very intangible aspect. If you're not keep using it, you will lose the ability. So trying to separate yourself about the reality and then like doing the art by yourself. So trying to enjoy the art in general. I think that's the main aspect. I think the second part is always keep it in mind about the negative aspect too. Because I know everyone's are not really wanted to think about the negative aspect. But if you are kind of think about the negative aspect, not too deeply, then you will also have a better idea about how to like solving the problem, like how I did it right now, or how I'm actually doing it right now, going back to like my home country and then looking for the game industry, like market over there. So that will help you to stay on your main like motivation.
When you say the negative aspect, are you referring to the feelings of coming like hitting a wall and not really getting the results, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I think the frustration from not getting any result from the job market, and then plus with doubting about your skill, because when you're not getting the job market result, then you will start to doubting yourself that am I not like enough for this industry, or am I not doing something like better than before? So trying to like not thinking about those negative aspects, but trying to look at out the actual like the facts. Like if you have multiple chance to do the interview in the job market, but you still didn't get any result, that means your portfolio is on the green like light. It's not like red flag or anything. You have to understand that it's just like maybe I'm lack of the experience compared to the other candidates. Because as I mentioned it earlier, all the position in the States are like senior or at least like mid-level. So for the junior artists, they're agreeing that your portfolio, if you get the interview, they're saying, well, your portfolio are close to that level, but your experience or maybe your interview like result was not great enough to get to your final like section.
Yeah, makes sense. So how do artists avoid burnout when balancing job applications, portfolio work, and personal projects? So again, like balance is very important. And if you're hitting the ground running and doing all these multiple things, obviously balance is a big issue, right?
Yeah. I think there's 3 ways to prevent that burnout while you're preparing the portfolio and everything. I'll say first, make a timetable for your portfolio. Just like how like we went to the college and then have every time have a time like schedule for each semester. If you have that on track, then you will have a better idea of like where am I at right now and what should I do to finish this project other than you just okay, let's just start making a character.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah. I think that doesn't really help. You need some of like actual plan, solid plan. And the second part is trying to have like your own like mentor. Not just like you working on your art by yourself. You need to talk with the actual like professional people out there to tracking yourself. That am I like still on the track on this like industry's like trend, or is it my portfolio quality are getting better? Because eventually, being an artist is that we could most of the time we could like kind of obsess with our art, so we were losing the aspect about is my art looking good on the like commercial art field? Because this is not like actual like contemporary art, because that's actually a way different field. But we always have to satisfy the client and the game company. So that's why that's the importance of having the mentor out there. And the last part will be trying to give yourself to do the art that you like to do it most, which is following your desire. For example, for me, I love to do a lot of like landscape painting without like actually designing my like landscape. I like to do the painting, just like observing painting, literally, or drawing the people out there while I'm like sitting on the coffee shop. So those kind of like doodling phase is very important for you to not like getting burned out and also losing the motivation.
I like that a lot. Those 3 points are pretty insightful, actually. I don't want to repeat it because I think that was really good. Just go back and listen to that. How do personal projects help concept artists stay competitive and relevant? I think this is a great question because that's one of the issues of you need job experience to get this entry-level job catch-22 thing, which is, okay, how do I get this job? I have no experience, but I need this job to get the experience. And now it's like a loop, right? And so this question is like, how do personal projects help you to stay competitive so that you're doing something? But what are your thoughts on that?
Could you elaborate the question one more time?
Yeah, so how do personal projects help concept artists stay competitive and relevant?
I think there's like 2 different way. I think the first is building your portfolio. It's still counting as a personal project because what I understand so far, what I learned from the industry people is that eventually for the junior concept artists, like your portfolio is equal to the personal project. But if you have experience and you have NDA work, that's what we call the professional work. That's how I recognize the difference. So I think stay on like track personal project will be always trying to see the trends of the game industry out there. For example, game industry like trends is like a fashion, like trends.
Yeah. You have to stay up to date and relevant.
Yeah, it's keep cycle. So right now, this is like the moment where most of like popular games have a lot of medieval like era of the game style, or they have a lot of like modern future style, which is like a lot of shooting games that are more a little bit techy, like outfits and a lot of techy like graphics are out there. Or the other part is they use a lot of popular animation IP.
Oh, I see.
To bring it to their game. For example, Blaze Entertainment's Overwatch game. They creating a lot of the character's skin design based on bringing the IP from Japan's popular animations. So that's kind of helps you to understand what's the trends out there. And then you actually apply to that your personal project. For example, you can actually redesign some of like already existing IP, but at the same time, you have to be very careful to not get obsessed with the original IP like design style.
Right.
So I would highly recommend to start with your like actual personal IP, other than just like following the trends what actually like game company are doing out there. And then the last part will be you need to be like setting up the portfolios like layout. What I mean by layout is like the order of how you're trying to show your portfolio to the recruiters or the game company in general. For example, like for me, since I'm an environment concept artist, on my website, I try to show a lot of like design ability about the environment concept artist they require in the game industry. So 80% I put a lot of environment concept art work in a front low of my portfolio. And then when it goes scrolling and down, I show the character and the props, which is still relevant to the environment because it still has a character and props inside. So that's how I build up my portfolio based on how people are absorbing my work to they trying to hire me or not.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. As a non-artist who does not have a portfolio, how do you approach building one? Because you say adding to your portfolio, constantly building it. Like, how do you know or decide what to draw, what to design, what to build in that order? And I know you mentioned following those trends, being up to date with what's relevant, and then potentially developing your own style, but also taking other existing IPs and maybe making your own, making a spinoff, depending on what trends are there. But how do you decide what goes into that portfolio, if that question makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, there is like different way to decide how you're going to build your portfolio in the end. For example, it's kind of relevant to the previous episode, how I mentioned about the stylization about the portfolio and everything. So that also included after you actually decide your art stylization. For me, my work is heavily depends on like Henley digital painting style. So I have to keep it on track about building my portfolio to being like handily painted, and then plus with is that this will be going to be very cute, and plus since I'm an environment concept artist, am I know how to paint a different day of the time and different weather, so that kind of like shows on my portfolio.
Those aspects of
yeah,
like,
the aspect.
You can do different sides to that.
And then when it comes to the since it's like technical art, you have to show your like understanding of the functionality of the design. Are you actually just creating the art, or are you actually creating the art and design at the same time? Just like how I design my vehicle design on my website. Like, is it this actually will be work in the real life? So those things are important. But when we purely just going back to the question to answer it, I'll say you really need the mentor in the end. Of course, there's a lot of resources out there these days from Instagram or the Facebook or even like different like education online platforms out there. But the one thing is that they are great artists. However, in any field, even if you're good at executing your work, they are not like good at educating a lot of people how they wanted to do. So some of people will have a struggle to understand their information if you purchase the package of the online classes.
Right.
So
Like a video course or something.
exactly. So you need like in-person mentor in your life to keep in track and also getting a full advice. I'm not saying like you should not like looking out the online classes out there.
Yeah.
You will have opportunity. Like,
Yeah. There's a
but
lot of good resources out there, but mentorship is
Mhm.
very valuable and it's very pointed or very specific that
Yeah.
can like accelerate your growth and guidance.
it's more like they can help you to diagnose about your current status.
It's like a coach, right? They can
Yeah.
see like your blind spots and
Right.
figure out where you need to grow better than just a blanket video course that just gives you general A to Z, right?
Right.
I like that. And yeah, thanks Solomon for pulling up Ray's portfolio. Those are really good images and illustrations. Highly recommend everyone check out Ray's portfolio. His work is gorgeous. As a non-artist myself, and I can appreciate good-looking art as a newbie. Yes, his work is really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so next question is, how can junior artists deal with imposter syndrome and build confidence in their work?
I think it's kind of like same thing how I like answered the previous question, but I will say separate yourself about getting evaluated by the professional like standard and trying to keep yourself and then think about the reason why you start this like path for your actual professional career. Because this is also kind of same as how you like being an adult. Because once you've grown it up and getting out from all the education, mandatory education system, you'll have a lot of interaction with different types of people that you haven't meet in your life, right? And then you might have the time or the experience of getting hurted by what other people are saying it to you, or you'll have the struggle because of you couldn't recognize your like the bad part or the not a great habit to interact with the people. It's the same thing as in the art too. So trying to keep yourself that once people are like commenting about something about your art means they are not looking forward to just like doubting about your work. Actually, they're the people who are trying to help you, unless they're really saying in a disrespectful way. So trying to being open-minded about getting a critics from outside and to separate yourself that this is just critic to help my work to get better. And then consume that advice and trying to organize your thoughts before you actually doing your art. So this will help you to enhance your skills and also not getting too much stress from like when you're getting the advice or the critics out there.
So being good with taking feedback and critiques and whatnot, and then improving and focusing on that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily imposter syndrome, like how bad I am or I'm not meant to be here, but just focus on improving your work. Next one, or I guess the last one in this section is, what advice from senior artists has helped junior concept artists the most in their career growth?
Senior concept artists, since they already went through the junior level experience and everything, so they will, if you have chance to talk with the senior concept artists, they will give their insight about their experience, which is literally a shortcut. So trying to create the opportunity, even like in person or online, like LinkedIn, like professional, like recruiting, like platform, trying to reach out them, even if it's embarrassing and it's pretty like pressure, and trying to get different types of the opinion from the different like senior concept artists. For example, once you get that big data, and then you will find out the common advice they are giving it. So trying to extract that common advice and then apply to your work like habit or the workflow or even your like art style, everything, then it will help you to understand how to get to that like professional level.
Okay. So getting a lot of advice from a lot of different perspectives and kind of finding those common denominators or threads that connect everything, and that helps you grow the most, basically.
Yes.
So basically, it's like a mindset of just consistent adaptation, learning, and always seeking feedback and advice. And I think that makes sense for a lot of different career fields, right?
Yeah.
I think that's it for like the planned questions, but I think it reminds me, I was having a conversation with a friend recently and they're a UCLA student. And I think most like students have this same sort of conception. I think we were talking about this of it's tough when you're in a competitive environment. Let's say from a very competitive school or environment where everyone's doing all these amazing things and their portfolio is amazing and they're working with all these companies. And it's easy to compare yourself and, like you said, get into those negative mindsets of feeling like you're an imposter, feeling like you're behind, and feeling like you are not going to make it in this tough economy and job market. And I think what I said eventually is that I think people are aware that comparing doesn't help you. I think focusing on your improvement and growth, what you've been saying, is very important. But I think the second thing that came to mind was I feel like aside from preventing yourself from feeling doom and gloom, the time horizons for you to be successful is a lot bigger than people think, because they feel like I have to figure out my stuff within the next 2 years, within my undergraduate, even recent, like in my first 2 years of graduating. And if I don't do that, then it's the end of the world, right? But as adults, people who have been in the workforce for a lot longer, you have more time than you think to be successful. And not only that, but I think the big question, and I know I'm tangent rambling, but the big question is, how do I find the job security and stability in any industry? And that's the question that a lot of those students or like early in your career people will ask. It's like, how do I have job stability? Because I do not want to get into this market and worry about having a job and getting fired and all this other stuff. And my thought is that how do you get job security is be really, really, really good at what you do. Be that people will want to hire you, that there are no open positions at Google, let's say, but the Google hiring managers will hire you anyways because you have a great reputation and you've done a lot of good stuff and you're the best in the industry, right? So the next question is, how do you become very good at what you do?
I think that's really a insightful question for any industry out there. Because as we know, more time pass, the world trying to change really fast, and a lot of students are becoming very high quality and then looking for the fast result in any field. So at that point, there is like pro and cons. Pro is you can have a lot of freedom to do anything. And the cons is like you will get a lot of pressure, and then you will feel a lot of like stress, how you explain, feel behind from the college year to like after you graduated. So to trying to realistically figure out that aspect, I'll say taking the advantage of how the world is changing, which is using the technology of like different like social media platform to self-promote yourself. Like for example, like as the concept artist, a lot of artists are low-key mandatory to self-promote themselves in any different like art platform.
Yeah.
So they're exhibiting, literally they're doing the art show by themselves on online to showcasing that I do this amount of work A to Z. So if you're getting interested, hit me up and then I will try my best to like respond. And if we have a great opportunity, I will like always open to work together. So you show that constancy about like self-promoting yourself other than you obsess about the amount of the likes and amount of the expose that you will get on the social media platform that you might think that I'm getting popular or not. That's not important because as everyone know, once the algorithm like kind of picks you up, you will get viral. But I think that's not the important part.
But if you're not good at if your work isn't good, then what's the point? And if you're not promoting or if you're not going out there and putting out your work, it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, I like that a lot. And also too, I think there's a step back from that is self-awareness of what you're meant to be doing. So in your case or in other people's cases, they know what they want to do and they have the self-awareness like yourself of, okay, concept art, environmental concept artist, working in the video game industry. But some people don't really know what they want to do.
Right.
And they might be pressured or influenced into 3 different industries. They're not really sure. But I think the point being is that if you have that self-awareness and you know that you really want to do a certain thing because 1, you're wired to do it naturally because your brain works that way. And 2, you really enjoy it so that you get something from it. That allows you to be really good at it.
I think the first, if you already have your self-awareness about what you like to do, you already figure out the big part. Because a lot of people, as you mentioned, are still figuring out to find out what they love. Because these days, working at the company in the traditional style will not help you to survive.
Yeah.
Like economical wise.
You're not going to be in demand or the best and have job security if you hate what you're doing, but you're in an industry that's quote unquote stable. I hear that so many times. It's, I want to go into this industry. Why? Because it's stable. I'm like, but you don't love it and you're not good at it. So why would you ever be great at it? And why would they ever keep you on the payroll?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's why recently, what I've been researching about the job market in general, like when I was trying to plan to going back to Korea, I heard the term about the digital nomad. It's you don't have really a physical place to work, but you're working anywhere while you're traveling, like in a different city. So your work, for example, like as a Korean, I work at like Finland, for example, in Europe, but I get the job in the Finland to work remotely, but they still don't require you to submit your visa to stay there longer. You're like staying there like a couple of months, but you're getting the experience, and then you still get like constant income by register yourself in the like a bigger global like platform that will assist the digital nomad people to work in any like country. So which that becomes like your personal business, because people will get scared about like when say I want to start the business means like we need a lot of money and then we need enough experience to and then learn about the industry and then run the business. That will help to like successfully run the business. Otherwise, it will waste the money or the time. But I think nowadays that's not how it was used to be. It's very different. You can open your business on your Instagram. For example, you can make a sticker like cute character. For me, I can make a cute character.
Yeah.
And then upload on the global platform, so people will purchase it, and I can send the sticker around like all around the world.
Yeah. Open up an Etsy shop right now. Yeah, I like it. Okay, Ray, I think we're short on time, but this was such a fruitful conversation. I'm glad we were able to do part 2, and I'm sure eventually, if it's in the cards, maybe a part 3 if it works out, and when you come back or something like that. So let's wrap this up. So as we end as usual with gratitude. So Ray, I know we did this recently, but what are you grateful for?
I think I'm grateful of course, for this like podcast opportunity to getting know you while I'm like staying in the States. And then I could share this ideas to the people who are in the same page or people who will going to have the same page with me. So they will have less like stress like moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's the grateful part for me nowadays.
Nice. Yeah. And I appreciate it. And I'm sure the audiences too, sharing your insights, your hard-earned insights with the rest of us so we can take a peek and maybe learn something from that. Okay. Final ask from the audience or any takeaways you want them to have from the show. Besides hire me in South Korea, but other than that.
I think thanks for spending time to listen to my episodes, which is like this is part 2 already.
Yeah.
And
listen to part 1. That's my ask. It's a great episode.
Thank you. Yeah, and then it is really honored to share my experience out there, even if there's not a lot of people are listening at the moment. But still, thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course. All right. Last thing, I know it's going to be linked and it's in the first episode, but Ray, if people want to check out what you're up to or connect or anything like that, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Instagram right below here.
There you go.
Ray Lee R on Instagram. And then you will see all the hyperlinks that relate to my professional work.
Nice. And it'll have his face like that right on there.
Yes.
Cool. Well, all right. Ray, thank you so much again for being here. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun and it was a very fruitful conversation. And thank you for the brainstorm questions.
Oh, no worries.
Again, shout out to Ray. He helped brainstorm a lot of these questions and I think they're very pointed and insightful. So for my final sign off, thank you guys again for tuning in. As always, reminder to be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone, even multiple times, if you just take the time to listen. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much.